Okay. So up to 200 million people worldwide. I've seen estimates for the U.S. as low as 27 million, as high as 35% of the U.S. population identify as creators or in the creator economy. I think more interesting than the size is who is it? I think 5 years ago, the creator economy was a bunch of teens and 20-somethings, and the business side were us grown-ups. I think today us grown-ups have become creators as well. And so the demographics are changing dramatically. You have more professionals. You have a broader distribution of ethnic and psychographics. So I think that's kind of my takeaway from it.
Yeah, I see a number in the U.S. that says it's 11.6 million full-time. Does that make sense? Do you buy that? Tyler, what do you think? That many creators full-time in the U.S.? I mean, that's a lot.
I think so. I mean, I'm seeing more and more creators getting their jobs and becoming full-time because they can make six figures as creators now.
Okay, and Renee, we're all creators, but there's certain parts of this country that don't recognize creators, right?
Yeah, so my mic is actually really loud. So part of the issue with figuring out how big the creator economy is really classification. And there's not a de facto source for classifying creators. I looked this up this morning for some fun information for you. The U.S. Census Bureau doesn't actually have a category for creators, but it does have a category for pickled onion manufacturing, canoe repair, roller skate repairer, and canary raiser. So there are some very interesting, very niche categories that are being tracked by the Census Bureau. And according to the Washington Post, the Census Bureau's industry index includes online video game playing. So does capture a little bit of information around.
That would be a Twitch streamer, right?
Around Twitch.
So creators are captured.
But it categorizes them as data processing. So not only is it messing up the information for the creator economy, but it's also messing up the categories for data processing.
Okay, so how many of you have kids? So when your child comes to you and says, I'm not playing video games, I'm data processing. I don't know about that. All right, Renee, data processing. So I'm going to ask how much creators make. And, Drew, you track this all the time, running Tubefilter. I saw $180,000 annual on average for full-time creators. Does that seem too high or too low?
For full-time creators.
Full-time creators.
For full-time creators, that's about, over 100,000 for sure. I would say about 150.
No, can you hear him?
About 150. Because your mic. I never touched it. Take my mic.
I'd say it's about $150,000 to $180,000 annually for full-time creators. So, how many of you post on social media at all? Okay. Are you posting on YouTube? Raise your hand. Are you on any of the Meta properties? Instagram. Although, if you read Inside the Creator Economy, you just learn that Instagram's being a little stingy these days. TikTok, a little less so. LinkedIn. Yeah, so LinkedIn is very, very hot right now, and people are really actually making a living posting on LinkedIn. And there's a lot there too, I think. But I would say it's around, it's like, it's six figures for sure. It's not playtime anymore.
That's also a kind of a self-selection question as well, right? Like if you are creating as a hobby, you're not going to quit your job until you're making enough to pay your mortgage or your rent or whatever it is, or whatever bills you have to pay. So I think, cost of living is high. So naturally the creators that end up quitting their jobs to go full time have to be making a good amount of money.
It didn't touch the board at all. Turn my mic on. Turn on me.
Check.
Okay. All right, guys. So question for you. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of money. It's like, what did Goldman say? $250 billion now, $500 billion globally. That's like 20% of the overall entertainment market in 2028. That's a lot of money. So what the heck is going on with creator economy startups, right? They're down 38% in 2023. no one's getting funded. What's the disconnect between startups and this size of the creator economy? Avi, take it away.
Oh, my hypothesis here is that the creator economy is actually an extension of media and entertainment, not an extension of tech. And so what happened over the last 5 years, especially 5 years ago around COVID, actually, I'll back up. 10, 15 years ago, I mean, Jim was on the vanguard of this, right? Like, the creator economy has been around for 15, 20 years. There have been startups in the space that have exited for hundreds of millions and even billions of dollars as far back as the 2010s, early 2010s, even
2012 Revision 3 Discovery. It was not hundreds of millions, unfortunately, but there were lots of numbers in there.
Exactly. And well, Maker Studios was $1 billion. Fullscreen was like $300 million. There were 8, 9, and 10 figure exits. But Silicon Valley had absolutely nothing to do with those. Fast forward to 2020, COVID happens.
Well, wait a minute. We were all funded by Silicon Valley.
You were.
No, so was Maker.
Maker was LA-based VCs like Upfront.
Right, but they're a Silicon Valley VC in an LA clothing.
They were the Silicon Valley.
Right, anyway, keep on going. That's not important.
All right. Well, so 2020, a bunch of, basically tech executives, Instagram employees, Meta employees, YouTube employees, go home for COVID, realize there's an opportunity in the creator economy. They're watching lots of YouTube. They're watching lots of TikTok. They start companies. Silicon Valley VCs are pattern matchers. So they're like, oh, you worked at a big company that made billions of dollars in return for VCs. We should invest in you.
No, they're lemmings.
Yeah, lemmings. That's exactly what I mean. That's exactly what I mean. And so you have all of these companies that are solving problems for creators that have already been solved. How many Patreon clones do we need? How many,
link in bios,
right? How many link in bios do we need? How many creator CRMs do we need when every creator that I've ever spoken to uses Google Drive? Like, a lot of these are problems that are already solved or don't actually need solving.
So, go ahead.
It's a big difference than what happened pre-COVID with Maker, with Fullscreen. Like, where are they now? They're all dead. They're all gone.
True.
They're all gone because there was an opportunity then to do a deal, right? Now they're really actually building businesses that make money. Like back then it was
talking about creators.
Creators, you could start a business and sell it and call it tech and flip it. And those were all hedge buys, right? Like Disney bought Maker just so they could neutralize the potential threat. It was $1 billion for them, not a lot, and they shelved it.
Yeah, but that's like
the whole GeoCities thing, right? Like, didn't Disney
I don't know. You know what? We're not going to reinvent history. Renee, go ahead. Then I've got a question for Tyler.
Yeah, I just want to layer on top of that and say, my background is mostly in tech. So a little bit different, I think on this side. And I've been in the creator economy since 2006, mostly at tech companies. Some of them have been acquired by bigger platforms like Meta. But a lot of I think the technology is still in place and has evolved. And so those didn't necessarily go away. It was funded in Silicon Valley. So I think it really depends on the type of company that you're talking about. But I think there were a lot of early stage tech companies that did actually have really good exits and still in some form exist today.
So Tyler, you work with a lot of creators. I think part of what we're seeing here is companies that popped up that said, just give us 10% of the revenue, or we're going to charge you $500 a month. The creators that you work with, they really putting that much money into monthly fees for things or giving up that much money for potentially making some additional money? How do they see what's going on?
Well, I represent big creators on YouTube, and honestly, they don't pay much attention.
Can you hear her?
No.
Here, Tyler, take mine.
They don't really pay much attention to the business of where's my funding coming from. Their focus is on making videos, launching products, becoming 7-figure creators. That's what I do, and I guide them because I've been in Hollywood for 20 years, and I left to come protect creators because most of them are kids, accidental millionaires, accidental businessmen, and I'm on the ground kind of helping them grow. They're not really paying. I mean, okay, that's not true. I have a couple of big channels who are looking to other creators to invest in them, actually. They're not looking to VCs or, funds. They're looking to bigger creators to actually, I'm working on a deal right now where a smaller finance channel is working with a huge finance channel, and he might give her 10% and take part of her channel. And so I don't know yet. We'll see.
How much of all this is zero interest rates as well? Because zero interest rates, free money. Now we're in a situation where it actually, the cost of money is higher.
That's why so many VCs were willing to invest in the 17th company in the LinkedIn bio space, right? It's like, hey, I've got all this money, I got nothing else to do with it. Like maybe you take a small piece of the market and exit for, 5-10x my investment, and like at least something was done with this cash, right? Deploying that much cash is actually kind of hard.
Now, speaking of cash, I'm going to move on to the platforms themselves.
Yeah.
And we've all seen that the platforms are starting to think about making money rather than growth. I really have looked at this as the maturity of the market, but we see YouTube laying off a quarter of their creator partnership teams. We see Instagram laying off lots of their partnership teams, Twitch, Facebook, TikTok, you can go down the line. There's all this stuff going on where there's less support for creators. The platforms want to be profitable, so they're just saying, they're going to create anyway. We don't care. Is this seems to me like a big deal. Is it a big deal? Who wants to start off? Avi.
So this goes back to my point about creator economy being more media and entertainment than it is tech. All these tech companies don't actually think that servicing the creators is that important. On the flip side, I've heard stories about YouTube creators crying when their creator partnerships person at YouTube was laid off, right? Like their lifeline, their one connection to this massive company in which otherwise they're like nobody, is gone. You don't see entertainment companies firing the talent wranglers. Like Netflix knows that, whatever else happens on its team, they need to keep their talent happy, right? Sony and Universal and Disney all know that. I think that there is a reckoning coming, or there should be, in my opinion.
Well, okay. There's a cautionary tale here. If y'all remember Snapchat.
Who remembers?
I'm bullish. I'm so bullish on Snapchat.
But like Snapchat learned a lesson early on because they did not service their creator base, and it was very damaging to their valuation and to the legitimacy of the platform. What I think is happening now is, yes, there's this contraction on the platforms. They're kind of cutting the let's just say the working class creator is not being serviced, but they are placing big bets on bigger tentpole projects. Like you've seen, like what YouTube's done with NFL Sunday Ticket, what they're trying to do to enhance this living room experience. And, it was all about shorts. We'll talk about why that happened with TikTok, but then now it's all about the lean back experience and blending creator content with a little bit more of like bigger deals with YouTube TV and with NFL Sunday Ticket. We're seeing there's going to be a big investment, I think, in talent and that consolidation. It's easier to manage big stars to drive the same sort of levers on the platform.
It's like they want to be TV, broadcast, right? I mean, it's weird.
But the top.
I don't have insider information in this. This is mostly actually a question, but I do wonder if the platforms that are like downsizing a lot of their creator support, if they are going to be doing more like smaller creator events. So all of the different platforms have invite-only events that they do. So TikTok is doing a shopping one later this month in LA. YouTube does these on a regular basis. And I'm wondering if there's an opportunity for them to get more creators in one place around different niches and work with them on that level. But I also think that this opens up an opportunity for some platforms to really dive into creator support. And so I know a lot of companies are downsizing right now. I don't know if Pinterest is on that list, but Pinterest, I think there's an opportunity for Pinterest to do better with their creator support, and maybe that's one of their selling points.
Yeah, Pinterest is interesting. Tyler, you work with creators, like I said. Is this a good time to be a creator?
I think it's a perfect time. I mean, if you look at the strike from last year, I think a lot of actors, were frozen and didn't know what to do. A lot of them actually turned to YouTube and to TikTok and realized that there are these platforms that they never even thought about tapping, right? And a lot of musicians, have huge channels on YouTube, and they do really well for them. I'm very bullish on it. It's why I left Hollywood to protect creators, because I see them making 6 and 7 figures very easily. on just AdSense and brand deals. That's not talking about product launches and actually launching their own services and apps.
I think a lot of the attention is going to be on increased efficiency. So if you're a creator already, how do we retain, as a platform perspective, how do we retain you as a user on our platform? How do we increase efficiency? How do we make creation easier with new tools, including AI, and really figuring out that world? I think that's where a lot of that energy is going to be invested, is how can we continue to create more content on the platforms and grow out of efficiency and out of just production instead of just recruit. Like, everybody's on the platforms now. So
there's also more tools and companies that service creators than ever. There's more easy ways to get started making and distributing and monetizing content.
We're going to jump right into that. We've got a bunch of trends to get through. So I'm going to start off talking about Gen AI. We had a fun panel here yesterday about Gen AI. For those of you who weren't here, Renee, talk a little bit about how Gen AI is helping creators. Renee was on that panel, by the way, for those of you.
Yeah, well, I'll talk from my perspective as a creator, which is I think it really helps to, one of my favorite ways to use it is actually creative exploration. So if I have kind of an idea that I'm thinking of, but I haven't quite finalized it or really figured out the hook, I think Gen AI can really help with that. It can also help me get over creative blocks. So I have a lot of little tricks that I do to get over any kind of creative hurdles that I have. Gen AI is one of those to help with brainstorming. And then it also helps me just with efficiency and to do the things that I don't really love doing that much, do them a lot quicker so that I can spend more time on the things that I really do enjoy.
Also, you guys see Gen AI helping creators. Abhi, go ahead.
I think in one way, there is going to be a distinction over the coming years between like AI made or computer made and human made. I think it's going to be the same as how handmade became a moniker of quality in the industrial age. Human made will become a moniker of quality in the AI age.
And I think, a lot of creators, like Renee says, we use it to generate ideas for us, but we don't use it to write our scripts. I mean, I've tried it. I have my own YouTube channel. I've tried it and it's terrible. And I think what people are going to yearn for is more storytelling, more personal touch. You're going to know when a video is written by AI versus when it's not. So I think there's going to be, the trend away from the Mr. Beast videos and more towards the slow, the new media that's happening on YouTube, where it's storytelling, it's filmmaking. And I'm very, very excited about that.
I just can't. I'm thinking about, the movie Her, where his job is to handwrite love notes. I mean, he does it for other people, but they're still handwritten. I feel like that sort of quaint, little workshop production is going to still have so much value. And especially since AI it's too easy. You know what I mean? Like, from a poetic perspective, it can't.
And it's bad.
Renee.
Yeah, I just want to add one more thing to this, which is I think there's a third category. So human made, AI generated, but also AI assisted. And so I think there's a good combination between them. And in terms of storytelling, there are some interesting AI tools that have come about that help with the storytelling process. For example, in my session yesterday, I talked a lot about Descript. I do some work with Descript, but Descript has a tool that allows you to basically analyze your video and cut out the fluff, which actually does help with the storytelling. And so I think we're going to see some really unique tools that are powered by AI, but they're human assisted. Yep. Yeah.
I want to move on and talk a little bit about fully AI generated content, because on LinkedIn, we're seeing it. You just wrote about comments. We're like, get the F out of my comment stream. You see it with video. And look, I mean, how many of you guys know Glorb or Skibidi Toilet? How many of you guys are spending a lot of time watching that content? It's not fully AI generated, but it seems to me like that is sort of where we're going, which is this crazy stuff that, you don't know where it's coming from, but personalized for people. Are you worried about a fully generative AI takeover of all of our platforms? Anybody? Go ahead, Drew.
I mean, with regards to news and politics, it is very frightening to me. With regards to entertainment, I'm excited.
Well, I think that
No, go ahead.
I think that what is going to happen, and this sounds bad, but it actually feeds into what I was previously saying. I think what's going to happen is we're going to see a flood of AI generated content. It's going to be cover news and current events and politics and things that it's going to be much faster and easier for an AI to like read a press release and then write a piece of content and then post it automatically. So, and you're going to have people, you're going to have people basically programming these bots to just like churn content out, and they're going to be using keywords. They're going to be search optimized. Every time you search for any topic at all.
The best you've ever read.
I think it's going to be really generic and bland. It's all going to kind of, like converge towards a median, saying the same thing without any real, like, interesting points because they don't have human experience behind them. And that is what will lead to the rise of and hunger for human-made content, because you're going to want something that has a human perspective and experiences, backing it up.
Renee, go ahead.
Yeah, so I absolutely agree with that. I think we're going to see a flood of very generic AI content. I do not think that it's going to push out creators that are making really good content. I think one of the things that people actually really appreciate on television, but also on social media, is a glimpse into people's lives. That can't be replaced by AI.
The rise of like the authentic creator came out of a sort of tired of the overproduced, over-workshopped, overdeveloped shows that don't inspire people.
You remember the early days of online video and YouTube where all the TV people were like, let's make TV on YouTube. How did it work?
Just like a brief anecdote on that. All of those bad show, like digital series were because of a bunch of TV networks, TV production companies, their agents couldn't sell those shows to TV networks. And so they were like, oh, well, we'll just sell it to digital. We'll just make a digital
webisodes.
show. It's just like a bunch of rejected TV pitches.
All right.
Because I sold some of those.
Let's move on. I want to talk about short form. I've got a quote from Hank Green, who started VidCon, top creator. He said recently, shorts is bad for YouTube. It's bad for creators. It's bad for audiences. The only thing it's good for is not letting TikTok have it. What do you guys think about short form content? Tyler, what do you think about short form content? How are your creators using it? Are they embracing it? Are they done with it?
So I have a lot of clients who have huge channels, 1 million plus, all blow up on shorts. But the problem is I can't get them any brand deals because brands will say no engagement. Their community doesn't even know who they are. Tell them to go make some long form videos and then we'll talk again. And so now that's what they're doing. They're turning towards long form. TikTok is, saying make long form. Everybody wants to know who their, audience is. They want to know who their creators are. When you're just swiping, do you know the last 10 people you watched? Probably not. But when you're watching a 10-minute video from someone, you know exactly who they are and you are intimately connected to them on a very deep way. So a lot of my clients are actually moving away from shorts.
Avi, LinkedIn is doing short form. What do you think about that?
I think that, specifically on LinkedIn or short form in general?
In general, but yeah.
I have lots of thoughts on LinkedIn one, so we can go deep on that. But there's a panel on that at 2.
That's right. We are talking about that at 2.
So I think in general, shorts is a great top of funnel, right? It's like wide distribution. You can get eyeballs. The problem is most creators don't actually have a funnel at all. They're not trying to do anything with those eyeballs. Shorts are not great if content is the product because shorts are low value. They're a very, very low value product. But if you are selling courses, merchandise, services, whatever it is, and you have a funnel built where you can take people that watch shorts, convert some small percentage of them into newsletter subscribers or podcast listeners or long form watchers or whatever it is, and then funnel them towards a much higher value product, then there is value in it.
Renee, how do you feel about short form video? I know you're making video on YouTube and you're cutting it up for short form. What's your thoughts about this?
Yeah, so I typically will recommend that creators try a multi-platform, multi-format kind of approach where you're on different platforms, so you're not relying only exclusively on one platform. And then also in terms of multi-format is figure out what actually works well for you for shorts and for long form, as opposed to just being long form or just being short form. I think Chloe Abrams actually does a really good job with this. So her long form videos are highly produced, just amazing longer form content, but then she'll do very stripped down short form content, which is just like a behind the scenes or, so it's not the same type of content just clipped up to make it shorter. So I think if you really think about your content strategy as a whole and where does shorts fit into that versus long form.
It's like a media mix and understanding that media mix. do you think about the rise of short form?
I mean, look, I don't know what Shorts does for anyone. It's like the death scroll does not happen.
Who likes shorts?
You know, I mean,
Hey, we got a couple people that like shorts here.
like Avi said, and Renee, like if it's driving in your example, if it's driving towards long form, like for me, Shorts really is just like it's so empty and so devoid, and it's a cheap move that YouTube did. And I think it was literally just like Hank said, it was like a block on TikTok, and they're still trying to drive people toward long-form content, not just because you can make money that way and you can monetize it, but it's also allows you to develop story in a different way that's more fulfilling for the viewer.
So I think there is value in shorts. I mean, like any piece of content or any content format, it depends on the content, right? Like, you know, I learned how to cook seafood over the last year from shorts. I learned how to make cocktails from shorts. I learned, I
want to know what it was like before
right?
you knew how to make seafood.
No, I was
there a lot of
I was very bad at cooking fish. I'm now very good at cooking fish. So, but my point on that is like those pieces of content, despite the fact that they had value to me, they don't have inherent economic value. They're not generating revenue for those creators unless I go and then purchase something from the Amazon store for the cocktail creators or from the fish guy owns a fish market. Which is
So that's shorts. Let's talk about Instagram for a minute. I wrote about Instagram in my newsletter today, called them cheapskates, skinflints, lots of other bad names, because they really don't share any revenue. But creators, when they do brand deals, some of them can get really high CPMs. What's the deal with Instagram? Tyler, you work with Instagram creators. What do you think? Is there value in being an Instagram creator?
I think so. I mean, definitely I've seen some huge brand deals on Instagram, 6 figures plus, because you know what it is though, is that creators are selling on stories, right? So they're they're trying on the clothes. They're telling people about it. I mean, stories is very powerful. Actually, stories is something that I think, it's how they drive a lot of sales, a lot of it drives, traffic to the brand. And I've always said YouTube is the best platform for creators. They take care of their creators. They really share in the AdSense, but Instagram just doesn't. I think it's a problem. But to Renee's point and Avi's point, I think if you're a well-rounded creator, you need to make all content, right? You need to be on all the platforms. You can't just be on one. You can't just do shorts. I think if you do long, then you cut them, and there are great products like Opus Clips. It'll just clip it, 10 clips in 60 seconds. And that's how you should be making shorts. Not necessarily devoted to shorts, but make long form content that then you can put those shorts on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube to be a well-rounded creator.
But Instagram, they make more money, more ad revenue than YouTube. At least they did a few years ago.
$50 billion.
And they share zero of it. Avi, what the F is going on here?
Yeah, I mean, so historically, again, tech has not really. Sorry, I'll rewind. Facebook and Instagram started as social networks. As social networks, their point of view is that, we are creating for each other. We are making content to like catch up with friends or show friends like what's happening. It's like, it's social. Today, it's fundamentally changed, right? Like Instagram is I don't care what my friends are doing on Instagram. I'm on Instagram so I can watch like creators content, right? And I think the vast majority of people, that is true, but Meta and Instagram did not start that way. They did not grow into $50 billion revenue platforms that way. And now, even if they wanted to share that revenue, which they don't because it's a lot of money, they can't. Their shareholders would fire every single executive there if they suddenly cut their revenue in half by starting to pay it out to creators. So they're in I think creators in general on those platforms are in a pickle, and the only way for that to change is to create enough pain for these companies by going to other platforms, by taking away the content that is generating that value, that the alternative, which is just dying slowly, looks worse than starting to pay creators.
All right. So anybody have anything else you want to say about Instagram before we move on to the TT in the house?
Let's get to it.
Okay. How many people out there think that TikTok's going to get banned or sold this time? Oh, there's nobody putting their hand up.
No, there's one.
There's one. Okay. Thank you very much over there. I don't know. The government seems hell-bent on it here in the U.S. There's a lot of political support for it. TikTok is owned by the Chinese. What do we all think about the state of TikTok. Drew, you cover this stuff. What do you think?
Well, I don't think it's got teeth, but TikTok is reacting and it is messing up their business a lot. And their focus is really, it's a lot of the energy that TikTok on the executive level is focused on dealing with this political crisis. And it's at the detriment to everyone, from the viewers to the creators, and to everyone involved in the creator economy. It's going to be handled, I think. I don't think China is enough of a threat in the public mind to have enough political capital to actually see it through. And I think a lot of it feels like posturing and election speak. But I think if China does become more of a threat in sort of political mindset of, it will very easily ban it.
Renee, what do you think about TikTok? Ban, no ban, gonna happen? Do you care?
I mean, I do care. I don't know if it's going to happen. I mean, we've had this conversation many, many times, and I think something needs to happen so that we can finally get over the discussion of this, but I don't know if it's actually going to be sold or if it's going to be banned. But I will say, from a creator standpoint, I wouldn't slow down on TikTok, but I would recommend the same thing that I always recommend, which is multi-platform. I don't think you should just be on TikTok. There is a greater risk that it will get banned. And so don't put all your eggs in that basket. Don't put all your eggs in the YouTube basket or Instagram. And I also recommend that creators still have a place that they own in some respects. So whether it's your website or you're using a service like Kajabi or Uscreen or any of those other sorts of platforms, that's kind of your home base where you can have a direct connection with your audience, do it. So same thing that I always recommend.
Tyler, what's your take on the TikTok ban?
I don't think it's going to get banned, but I think a sell could pop. It's possible, but I really agree with what Renee is saying. I mean, I tell all of my creator clients, YouTube is not your business. You're the business. YouTube is the marketing arm of your business. So please make sure you have your own email list, your own website. Create a community off platform. I mean, I'm about to create one on Mighty Networks because I think it's really important that you control and own that real estate. Don't build on other people's land. That's what I always say.
Avi, what's your take on TikTok? Ban, not ban, sell, no sell?
I have a lot of feelings and I don't think we have time for it. So I'll just say this.
Give us the Cliff Notes version. Give us the version that you put into ChatGPT and said, make this a shorter thing.
I think that, I don't think it will be banned because I think in the United States of America, the government serves capital and there's too much capital put into TikTok. I think that from a political and national security perspective, it probably should be banned. From a creator perspective, obviously, it would be very, very painful for millions of people. Although in the long term, for those who are serious creators, it may actually be better because it would force them to move their audiences to platforms where the communities and the audiences actually care and actually monetize.
Well, all right. I think the last thing we're going to have time to talk about, and just so you know, in about 5 minutes, I'm going to kick everybody except Tyler off. We're going to talk a little bit about legal, and the state of legal in the creator economy. Let's talk about storytelling. So Mark Husted is the president of Mr. Beast. We'll be here about this time tomorrow. I think it's 11 o'clock, talking about creator economy, 5 things. We'll probably get into a little Mr. Beast stuff too. It seems like there's a little bit of a trend away from the challenge videos, away from the retention editing that we see. Is this move towards YouTube New Wave and storytelling and slower videos, is this just a wish by some creators? Or are we really seeing a change in the types of things that work today on YouTube? Who wants to start off on that? Go ahead, Avi. And then no, Renee, go ahead.
Well, I'll just say I don't know if it's like New Wave that's really causing this trend, but I do like that we are not like completely saturated with challenge videos anymore. I mean, I might not be the target audience for that, but I do think that there's still a place for challenge videos, and I think that they still actually do really well. I think we're seeing less prank kind of videos, but we are still seeing a lot of challenge videos, especially in the food space. It seems to still be doing really well. But I like that we're seeing more storytelling coming back. I think that when it comes to storytelling, though, it's not just about being slow. It's about having good storytelling. So you still need to keep the principles of what hooks an audience and what gets them captivated. It's still, you have to play to the medium and to the audience. But I do think that we're going to see more of a blend, I guess, of the types of content that are on there.
Avi, go ahead.
Yeah, I would build on top of that and to your point about the audience, like it is all about the audience. Whatever type of creator you are, the content that you make needs to like fit what your audience wants. In the case of this YouTube new wave, largely it's a bunch of, creators who have been creating for 5 to 10 years. Their audiences are kids and those kids are growing up. So when they were 7 or 8, they probably thought the prank videos were funny. Now they're 12 and 13. Their brains are maturing. They're craving more stories and more relationships. And so the content has to mature along with them.
Okay, Tyler.
If you ask any creator now, what is the one thing that they tell themselves to do every day? It's to write for an hour. It really is. There's such a focus now on storytelling and honing your craft as a writer because people are craving for storytelling, a connection, and you connect with people through stories. That's how you teach and that's how you connect.
Anything to add, Drew?
Yeah, I mean, I think, listen, there's a value proposition when you put in your time. As a viewer, you pay with your time, and then what's your ROI? What are you getting out of that? What's the utility? And I think coming out of COVID, sensational, extreme challenge videos were stimulating and exciting, and Mr. Beast did it, and he did it the best, and no one's going to do it better than Mr. Beast. Not even Mr. Beast can do it better than Mr. Beast. No one will do it better than Mr. Beast. So there's some fatigue. I think we're ready for something else, right? We're not binging, gorging on that extreme, provocative, exciting, serotonin hit type of content. We're now looking for something has more value. We're looking at creators auditing one another and, things that are relatable. It's becoming a little bit more sensitive.
All right. So I'm going to stand up because we're going to do the fastest things in 3 minutes. We have 3 minutes. I want a yes or a no on each of these topics. We're seeing creator guilds, creators getting together, maybe coming together to form unions. Is this a big deal or will it go away?
No, it'll go away.
Go away or big deal?
I think they should join SAG.
Okay. We need SAG. Avi.
Long-term successful.
Long-term successful.
It's a big deal.
It's a big deal. All right. We'll talk about the B2B creator later. Nano and micro creators. Seems like they're really valuable. Nano and micro creators. Is this where brands should be placing their money? Is it a big deal or there will never be a middle class? Renee.
It's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
Absolutely.
It's a big deal.
Yes, 100%.
It's a big deal. We all got that. Live stream shopping. It's big in Asia. Trying to make it big here. Will live stream shopping ever happen in the U.S. the way it is around the world? Avi.
Yeah.
When?
5 to 10 years.
5 to 10 years. Tyler.
Yes.
When?
I don't know.
Okay.
Never gonna happen.
Never gonna happen. Renee.
Shoppable video by this year or next year.
Sure.
Live streaming, maybe 5 years.
All right. Spatial computing, the metaverse, Vision Pro. Everybody says this is the future. They've been saying that for 25 years. Renee, spatial computing, VR, next 3 years. Big deal or do we not care?
Not in the next 3 years.
Don't care.
Oh.
Don't care.
Yes.
Yes. I've got a yes there. All right. Platforms all start to look the same. They're all on TV. They're all shopping. They're all doing this. They're all doing that. Are all the platforms going to end up being exactly the same? We won't care which ones they are. True.
That's a tough one. No, not anytime soon.
Oh, Tyler.
No, they're too different.
They already are.
They already are.
They already are.
They already are. All right. Kid content. We're seeing kids, toxicity. Some of the platforms are going to court. Are we going to see this whole kids thing turn into a big deal that the platforms will seriously be hurt by the way that they dealt with kids? Avi.
Only good thing about Florida.
Only good thing about Florida. Exactly.
I hope so.
I hope so.
It's necessary.
It's necessary.
It's always going to be a problem.
Always going to be a problem. And we are done. Everybody but Tyler off the stage.
Okay.
Applause. Thank you.
Use that mic, Sarah.